Hello and welcome to another Watch Your DM flip through review. Today we're doing Hand of God. My name is Austin Holm. Let's get right into it. I ran this one time. I had a lot of fun. My players, I think, were a little less enthused, but I thought it was killer. This is part of the 1.5 series for Troika. It is the second in the series. The thing I loved about this as a GM is this whole thing takes place on a hand, kind of like, well, I'll get my hand out of the way. You can see the picture of the hand. To show your players where they are in a dungeon by just kind of curling your hand a little bit and then pointing to a knuckle, boy, I just loved it. I thought it was a great idea for an adventure. It was a dream to run. I had a blast. Let's get into it. This is by Mike Nee, illustration and development by Andrew Walter, who is kind of running the 1.5 show over at Milsonian. Let's get right into it. So, sprouting from the earth is the great hand of God. Roosting at its very top is a bird called THOG, or the hand of God, the cursed thief of dreams. I think we're about to get an illustration of this guy. Well, we'll see him in a little bit. He's a giant bird with a hand for a head. The adventure began, kind of the recommended hook here is that the party is plucked directly from their own dreams by the demon bird THOG and deposited in his nest atop the index finger of the hand of God. I would not run this adventure with that hook again. I found that my PCs kind of thought they were in a dream for most of the action, which deflated the stakes a little bit. I kind of think coming up from the bottom here and maybe rescuing somebody from the top of the index finger might be the way to run this, but I will report back after I run it a few more times. The Hand of God. Well, there's a couple of big monsters on here. THOG, of course, the hand bird being the main one, but there's also these three. There's an eel king, a spider creature, Vow, and Porokin. These are the gods of the hand, kind of crawling around on it. This is just sort of some GM notes. How's it supposed to work? Works like a point crawl. You have to start at the top? Nope. Why would we go into the mini dungeons? There's stuff in them. Where's the Hand of God? Right in the middle of Troika City. What is the Hand of God? Well, that's a deeper question, and there's a couple options here. It could be the only above-ground protrusion of a petrified body of a god. It could be an abandoned arcane weapon. It could be an ancient engine, or it could be built to catch a greater star. Some NPCs have approximate knowledge of the truth, or they might just make stuff up and be misinformed, because it's Troika. Here's some more rumors you can kind of sprinkle throughout. Making use of the giant bird. This kind of should be casting a shadow over the whole adventure. And here's just kind of the different factions in the adventure and their relationships with each other. Random encounter tables. These could have been a little longer, but I found for the length of the adventure they worked out pretty well. And then we are into the locations, the meat of the adventure. Starting with THOG's Nest, we lost a PC right out of the gate here. I think we had a group of 6. Our friend Andrew, you might recognize his name from our module Debutante, one of my favorites. Our friend Andrew was playing a Lamassu. He did not survive this initial encounter with THOG. They made some noise. They didn't really... they didn't make it out uninjured. But I think that's good. You know, for a PC to die early on kind of sets a tone, sets some stakes, and character creation in Troika is fast enough that nobody really minds when their guy dies. Here's the THOG stat block. Pretty dangerous. Some things you can see from the height, the treasure that's in the nest, and the prayer worms are kind of these, little parasites living in the nest. Inside the index, as you go down, there is a staircase running down the index finger that pops out around the middle joint. I'm going to try and restrain myself from showing the THOG hand every time we talk about these locations, but let me tell you, my favorite thing about this adventure was just showing my hand to my players and showing them where they were on the map. Really, really great stuff. There's a dolmen here. My players barely interacted with it. I think they thought it was more dangerous than it was. There are some gondola stations kind of coming off of the index. My players did not end up going down here. They kind of felt that I think they didn't want to wait for the gondola to come. But in the gondola station, they had a really, really great encounter with 1d6 plus 6 goblins who are cast out for dangerous experimental maze design. I reconnected these guys to, there's a wizard a little bit later who has a maze in the middle of his tower. And I came up with a little story where they were kind of here because they've been kicked out of that area and so they ended up teaming up with one of the goblins, offered to guide them back through the maze that they had built for the wizard. And that was kind of a fun little tie-in. Gibberwind Temple, I didn't get here in my playthrough, but it looks really cool. It's a whole little dungeon. There's some cultists. They like throwing things off the thumb into the void. The thumb is where they live. Here's the dungeon map. Like I say, I haven't run this. My impression was that could maybe use a couple more pathways in between, but I think it could be a pretty fun adventure. Kind of the main thing is that there's a little treasure area up in this zone here. And yeah, detailing the different cultists. Mostly they're pretty chill, especially if they think that you're going to convert, but obviously you can kind of tip them off into craziness. There's a mind control snail thing here, the golden snail. It's kind of both the big treasure and also a mind control monster. And yeah, getting down to the base of the thumb, there is a undead kind of trader down there. There is a big snake that kind of winds its way around the base of the finger, kind of cutting off access to the palm. And some harpies you can treat with. The index scar, this is where the snake actually is. I guess you can see it from where the harpies are, but to get actually down to it. It's trying to cut off the finger of the hand of God. It has a couple of different motivations it might have. Basically, it's just a big obstacle. The Iron Span, we had some fun with this one. There's a troll and some gremlins here who are looking for some tolls. A great little adventure, or encounter rather. This is an adventure in and of itself. This is Rezkin's Folly. It's a little wizard tower, kind of with some hand-themed garden. I'll just refer back to this here. You can see it here at 05 at the top of the middle finger knuckle. Yeah. Geez, now that I think about it, I believe I ran this for 2 sessions, and this took up a good part of one. Like, I think the action of the wizard's tower was pretty engaging for a couple of hours. You can see it's a pretty easy dungeon. There's a big trap here, which, can drop you into the Eel King's lair. That can be a bit of a potential killer for characters. You go up the different floors. This one is the maze. It's kind of like a, shifting maze. There's some zoanthropes kind of tracking you around it, which was fun. But yeah, basically this was kind of a roll to see what room you enter type of thing, because the passages are all misconnecting. By giving them the goblin from the gondola tower, I kind of gave them advantage on their rolls and let them pick between the spaces they wanted to enter. I found this kind of elevated things a little bit because it gave them a choice and a little bit of agency as to where they were going, rather than just kind of bumbling headfirst through the dungeon. So here are the different rooms in the maze. Kind of very Troika. It's all, kind of grubby fancy. It's like a, kind of has the vibes of like a Baroque palace that somebody's thrown a raven and there's just used grime all over it. Rezkin the Tower Wizard lives at the top. He's got a couple of spells, but nothing too silly, so he's a pretty usable wizard compared to some of the ones you'll encounter. Some good treasure. Successful test of languages. Arcane research reveals that his life's work is an attempt to weave an illusion that can fool a god. His mathemology is bad, so he's wasting his life. Can relate. And yeah. Moving on, we've got an eel cave. My players did not kill this eel. I don't know that anybody would kill this eel. They ran away from it, which was a fun encounter. There is a kind of a stilt town called Jigigji. I'm probably saying that wrong. We had a really fun heist in here. I would have liked a little more detail for this town, especially since my players there are some quest hooks related to it. But there's not a lot of I need a bank to rob, or I need, some sort of thing for my players to dig their hooks into. Came up with just a little, kind of really easy heist where my players drilled up from the bottom of this house. They kind of went underneath it in the stilts and cut their way up into it, and then fled the undead mob as they ran out of the town. The woods under the falls, there's the giant spider. Thankfully we avoided that. There's some parchment witches in the west wood. Then our crags, these star creatures, are running around causing mischief. The THOG village is being burned down by the, oh geez, what is this? The Indelible Order of Allotted Idols, one of these factions here. If I recall correctly, my players kind of saw these guys and were like, that looks like trouble, and decided not to get too involved. Which I think resulted in the Order getting their Bonchad out. They're trying to summon a demon. But my players had already left, so that didn't really bother them too much. The Sump, there's the corpse of the catfish Urgod Porokin. This is kind of an interesting encounter. Inside the mouth of the catfish god is a thorn from the first rose. Anybody near it feels a keen sense of loss and grief, and if they touch it, they test their luck or have their heart broken, both figuratively and literally. So it's a very, very powerful weapon. And it's surrounded by a frothing sea of eels. Had some fun getting our players. They very quickly identified that they wanted to go mess with this dead catfish god, so getting over the eels was some fun action. And the wrist gate at the bottom kind of provides the last bit of space in the adventure. Some enemy blocks. These are mostly presented in line, but they're also here. And then at the end, a brief thing about the 1.5 series, including the one that came out before this, World Graphics Warehouse. And at the very end, we have the map of the Gibberwin Monastery. I really enjoyed this adventure. I would run it differently if I ran it again, but I think it's great. It is a breeze to run. You would not believe how easy this thing is to run with almost no prep. I think if you've read it once, you can pretty much pick it up and take it for a ride. Yeah, the 1.5 series is great in general. Highly recommend you check them out. Hopefully at some point, they're taking submissions here at the back, you'll see. So if you love Troika, put your own adventure in. Maybe one day you'll see one of mine in there. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you stuck with me this far, you're one of the good ones. Click like and subscribe, and maybe check out our blog. We're at watchyourdm.com. You can join our mailing list. We send out something every 2 weeks that's full of little random tables and fun stuff for you to elevate your game with. And check out Hand of God. A lot of fun for Troika if you're looking for sort of a starter adventure. Obviously, Blancmange and Thistle is a classic. But I think that both this and World Graphics Warehouse make great choices for follow-ups. So, yeah. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Stay weird.